what we believe has power. If we believe we can make something great, the chances of us making something great are better than if we don't believe we can. So I would say any ability to harness your belief on your behalf is a really healthy thing to do.
And one thing that you make very clear is that while our own abilities may come into question from time to time, you absolutely believe that the elements from which to create are out there.
Absolutely. All the elements are here. Everything is here. We get to pick and choose. The conveyor belt's going by with the little gifts, and we can first we have to notice there's a conveyor belt. Then we notice the gifts, and then that's the starting point. And then we may even feel empowered enough to grab one of the gifts and open it up and see what's inside. And then maybe that's the start of something really beautiful that we wouldn't have done. Everything that I make or have made has always been based on something that I see or hear that allows me to see something that I didn't see before.
So I was going to ask you whether or not it's important to be happy in order to create, but certainly a lot of people that were unhappy were still able to create. But the more I listen to you, it seems that it's really about an ability to pay attention.
Yes.
So if I'm unhappy or if I'm happy may not be as relevant as whether or not I'm able to stay undistracted.
Yes. I would say being able to stay present in the work is probably the most important part of it. And how you feel is less of an issue unless how you feel gets in the way of you feeling how the work makes you feel. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're in a lot of pain and you're looking at a piece of art, it may be hard to know how that art makes you feel because the big signal in your body is the physical pain. I'm sure there are some people who can do that too, who can even through the physical pain can feel it.
There's this idea of transmutation, of taking one emotion and contorting it and co-opting it into another action in an adaptive way. But this idea of distraction being a problem, this really resonates. I think when I think of times of great productivity is when I was able to be undistracted. I could also see how success can be its own distraction. This is often discussed in the context of fighting sports where someone starts making a lot of money and pretty soon their focus becomes all the things they can access with their success as opposed to the thing that got them there in the first place. Mm-hmm. Keeping an underdog mentality.
Yeah.
Before we conclude, I do want to ask you about one other aspect of process, which is meditation. Meditation is interesting to me because when we close our eyes, as most meditations are done, and we focus on our brain has no sensation. Like I
wouldn't say we focus on our brain.
Oh, or we focus on something other than our normal experience. How would you define meditation?
Well, there are different types of meditation. Usually, either way, I would say there's no form of meditation where we're focused on our brain.
Okay. Good. I'm glad we disagree.
Yeah. No, I would say here are the things that happen. We either are engaging in a mantra, which would be a version of almost like creating a trance for ourselves, not unlike listening to something when we go to sleep that would distract our conscious mind from participating. We would be overriding our the talking mind with just a sound that we're generating, or a word, or a phrase, series of phrases. A meta meditation is a loving kindness meditation with phrases. Could be that, or it could be focused on the breath. But the purpose of being focused on the breath is to not hear the self-talk that we normally have. It's a single pointed focus exercise in those that I described. The other version is an awareness meditation where you're closing your eyes and you're being with whatever is and noticing. So if we were to do it now, and you could do it eyes open or eyes closed with an awareness practice. But the first thing that I would do is I would feel, I feel a little ringing in my ears. It might be from the electronic equipment around us. And I don't mean that I hear the sound. It's like a vibration. I hear cars passing in the distance. Let's see what else comes up. I can feel a feeling in my chest. I can feel this part of my face, not sure why. Feels like it's related to my jaw. More car sounds. I'm aware of a little feeling of warmth. So now I would say the room feels a bit warm. I wasn't aware of that before when I wasn't just being with what's happening. Feel a little itch on my left shoulder. So that would be an awareness practice, which is another kind of meditation where you're just paying attention to what's going on. There's no story. There's no this means this. None of those things. Just like an inventory almost of everything that comes up when it comes up. And you do that for a period of time. But in all of those cases, in the example of doing the awareness meditation or doing a mantra meditation or focusing on the breath, in none of them am I thinking, and none of them am I concentrating on. I'm being aware of sense perceptions in the awareness one, or in the other meditations, I'm doing a practice so that I'm not aware of thinking about anything else.
When did you start meditating, and how often do you meditate now?
I learned when I was 14, and I started with TM, and that's probably the meditation that I've done the most in my life, and I come back to, although I tried many different kinds, and also different physical forms of meditation, Tai Chi, things like that. I meditated for 5 or 6 years, and then I stopped when I went to school, to university, and then I started again several years later. And when I started again, I realized how profound it was in me that I had done it when I did it. So I usually have some sort of a practice. In some ways, the beach walks could be a form of meditation. But for me, typically, I would wake up. It'd be the first thing I would do during that sort of in-between time. Maybe go out in the sun, close my eyes and meditate before starting my day. If I'm doing it twice a day, the second time would probably be right before dinner, if I'm doing it on a regular schedule. Then if I find myself on an airplane, I might meditate for an hour, or can remember one time meditating the entire flight from New York to LA. Just, it was a great opportunity to do a deep dive. And time passes, you lose track of time. You don't even know. It's like going to sleep and waking up. You don't feel like that was 8 hours. It's just time stops. Not always, but when it does, it's a great feeling.